It's often said that with age comes wisdom, and that's so not true. As we can see in our world, people who age sometimes get dementia, Alzheimer's, have loss of memory. Sometimes they focus on the past and they're like living in the past. Sometimes they express themselves in platitudes and sayings. What wisdom is more of a process, because first comes awareness. That's the first step of this process of wisdom. Awareness of the world, awareness of information, awareness of new information, not just accepting what the wisdom has been in the past or what people have believed in the past. And the second step is knowledge. Actually investigating, gaining knowledge about some of these things that we have an awareness of that strike our fancy or that feel important to us. And after gaining the knowledge, then in a way digesting that knowledge, bringing it down to a level of understanding the pros and cons and the different aspects of the things that we're learning, understanding the impact of those things on ourselves, on the world, and also understanding how we ourselves have impact. And then finally, living our understanding in our daily lives, expressing our understanding by allowing it to change us in positive ways, and then setting our own guidelines, our own principles and ideals so that we actually live out that awareness, knowledge, understanding, and that is living our wisdom. Also, using wisdom in our daily lives means seeing the big picture, the higher meaning of what's happening, while not losing sight of the smaller picture, which means our personal lives. The name of this show is Living Wisdom, and I'm Pam. The topic today is viewing our world through the eyes of wisdom. To look at the state of the world, which is expressed in the media, on television, in the newspapers, what people are talking about, not only in this country but worldwide, those huge issues, and viewing those through the eyes of wisdom, which means seeing the bigger picture. One of the things that's apparent by looking at news about corporations, about the military, about the government, about the leadership of this country, about the medical establishment and the justice system, the penal system, because all of these topics are expressed in various ways in the media. They are things that we're all hearing about and seeing, and people are talking about these things. So with all of this turmoil, so to speak, all of this dredging up of these huge issues, a big message is question everything. And I've written that down on this pad. Question everything. Now what does that mean? That means question the prevailing beliefs. Question the consensus opinions and the opinions of authorities, those authorities that we've given our power away to for so many hundreds of years. The authorities that are supposed to have the answers, and the ones that obviously don't have the answers, and that's why these huge world topics are coming to our attention, why they're being presented to us in such a dramatic way. So question everything. Some of the topics being played out in the world, not in any particular order here, but these are the establishments and the institutions and the authorities that have been regarded and created as such over the last actually many thousands of years, that come from this patriarchal mindset that's been in place in humanity, in our physical world, for perhaps going back as far as 6,000 years, being played out in various ways through the centuries and through the thousands of years. The military. Military, we know that's an establishment. It doesn't matter what branch of the military we're talking about. The military is an institution, it's an establishment that is an expression of this patriarchal mindset. And the patriarchal mindset got twisted along the way into a chauvinistic mindset. And I'll talk more about that later. The military, the justice system. Penal system. So many people just take it for granted that this is the way things are, this is the way they've always been, it's been going along. Look closely at what's going on here. However, our world and the news of the day is telling us differently. The military. This show is being taped in May of 2004, and the big news for the past week or so has been the Iraqi situation, but specifically focusing on the information and the photographs related to the abuse of Iraqi prisoners under the supervision of American military people. The pictures especially have been so graphic and so disturbing. It's not just abuse, because that's sort of a collective word, but it speaks of inhuman treatment. It speaks of torture and violence against other human beings by American citizens. And this is so difficult for people to let in, because we don't, in America, we don't want to think that we are capable of such acts. And so we want to, at this time, we want to blame just the handful of military people that were involved. And indeed, the military hierarchy, the military officials, so to speak, or the generals and the higher levels of the military, and nobody's stepping up to the plate saying, I accept responsibility for this, because that's one of the facets of chauvinism and of a patriarchal system. It's to control, contain, and confine damage. In other words, when someone within that establishment, such as the military establishment, feels threatened, instead of accepting responsibility and holding themselves accountable, it's those people are to blame, those other ones. Let's control the damage here. Let's confine the damage to the lower levels. So we see that at this stage of the investigations taking place, although of course there are those in the media and also in our Congress who are saying they're not going to settle for just focusing on punishing the handful of low-level military people who are actually involved in these atrocities. And the more news and the more pictures that come out, we see how horrible these actions were. So again, military establishment at this stage, going back to that Stonewall position of confining and controlling the damage. And the justice system, of course, is coming in here because at this stage of these investigations, the focus is on court-martialing these low-level soldiers and perhaps Marines, MPs, because they're the easy targets. They're the easy ones to blame. They're sort of like the disposable part of the military system, and so they're using the court-martial process. Some of the guards who are being or have been identified as actually perpetrating the abuse on the Iraqi prisoners were as civilians. They were prison guards, part of the existing penal system. So these general issues are coming forth. What I did this morning before I came to the studio was I went online and I opened up websites for some of the top newspapers that I like to check out in the morning. The first one, CNN's website, and I just looked at some of these topics. Pentagon is mentioned, Pentagon to brief Bush amid prison controversy. Well, the Pentagon, of course, is probably the highest institution of the military in our country. And then prison controversy, of course, that goes to the penal system. So stepping back and viewing this through the eyes of wisdom means, what is the higher truth? What is the bigger message that each person can look at and then relate to themselves? Because many of us, many of you perhaps sitting there watching this show, are saying, well, yeah, this is terrible, what's going on, but I'm only one individual, what can I do to change things? And here's where more information perhaps can help you see how you actually do have power to change. And this information that I'm going to share, which is not part of the commonly held belief system, to put it mildly, is that each person creates their own reality. They create it either by causing it or by allowing it. And each one of us has the same raw materials out of which we create our reality. Our beliefs and attitudes, thoughts and feelings, choices and decisions. And we have the same, each one of us, have the same tools that we use to work our raw materials. We have imagination, we have desire, and we have expectancy. So, each person causes their own reality by the choices and decisions they make, and naturally the actions that they take. Also, you can cause your reality by what you don't do, by what you don't choose, by what you don't decide upon. In other words, apathy, being apathetic, that is opening the door for allowing others to create your reality. We allow our reality, which is a little trickier. We allow what's happening in our personal lives and on the world stage. We allow that through the beliefs that we hold and the feelings that we have. Sometimes we have beliefs that we're not even aware of. They're beliefs that we picked up in childhood, or beliefs that we've just accepted. Beliefs about authority figures, for instance. Beliefs that, well, all these authorities are running the world, and I like to yell and scream about them and blame them, but I don't have any power. But the thing is, by changing beliefs and understanding that we each have more power and can have complete self-empowerment if we go to that level of responsibility, that we actually can change not only our personal lives, but can eventually change the world, because we have that level of impact. This is an enormous subject. It's like a jigsaw puzzle with an infinite number of pieces. And so in the course of this half-hour show, naturally I only have time to address a few of the pieces, and hopefully the pieces that I talk about will be able to fit together in a way that you watching will be able to see some of the bigger picture. In other words, will help you to gain a higher level of wisdom about this physical world we live in, about what's going on in the world stage and how that relates to you personally. I go into more detail about these complex subjects in the book that I wrote called A New Spirituality Beyond Religion. The subtitle of this book is With Personal Growth That Leads to Spiritual Growth, the Human Being Becomes a Spiritual Being. And my book is available in libraries and other places. So that gives more of the details of how this all works together. And the more information you have, the more empowered you can become. Naturally, I don't expect people to believe what I have to say just because I'm saying it. But what I'd like is to pique your curiosity. And when you hear something that resonates with you, to do your own exploration, to read more about it or investigate, and so that you find new sources of information for you instead of relying on the same old of the authority figures. This is what self-empowerment is all about. Now, military, the justice system, the penal system, what other establishments have been produced from this patriarchal mindset of humanity that's been prevailing for the last 6,000 years, with its variations and changes? Well, certainly religion. And as we see in the world, religion is now more and more playing a part in every one of the subtopics, so to speak, that we're focusing on. Religions, again, are products of this same patriarchal / chauvinistic mindset that I've referred to. The organized religions of the world, the big religions of the world. And a religion essentially is a belief system. It's a collection of beliefs with rules and regulations that have been created by the authority figures for their own reasons. And those religions, and I'm talking about Islam, Christianity, Judaism, and other major religions of the world. Those religions, the belief systems have been modified, changed, revised through the centuries to suit whatever political climate, whatever perspective those authority figures had. Generally, the purpose was for the authority figures to gain more power over others. When you hear me talk about self-empowerment, that means power over yourself or power within yourself for your own purpose. This idea of having power over people, that also is a product of patriarchy and chauvinism. It isn't working. Look at how much religion is playing, the part of religion playing in this Middle East crisis. Islam, of course, and the other religions, Christianity, the variations on Christianity, Christian beliefs about what's right, what's wrong, religious beliefs about what it is to be spiritual and what you have to do in order to be spiritual. What those religions, the unspoken message is, you must give your power away. You must give your power away to the ultimate higher authority, which is the God that is mentioned in each of the texts that support the various organized religions. They each have their own variation of the God figure, the Father God figure. And each say that that God figure is the supreme authority, which of course fits very well with this idea of patriarchy and chauvinism, where anything masculine, anything male, is better than everything feminine, everything female. So those who established the religions of the world invented their own version. I'm just going to put INV, that stands for invented a God figure that is like the enforcer, the higher authority of the individual belief systems. Looking at the world and the pain and the suffering and the violence, the revenge, the domination, the control, the never-ending cycle of pain and suffering and fear, it's not a far-fetched idea, a far-fetched opinion that religion, the way it was created out of the patriarchy, is not working. It's time to question your beliefs about religion, to look at a religion or established beliefs where instead of a Father God, there are co-creators, unconditionally loving Goddess and God as co-creators. Again, that's a subject that I go into in my book, and we're running out of time, so I could spend several hours talking about that subject, but we don't have the time today. If the concept of co-creators, unconditionally loving Goddess and God, intrigue your interest, perhaps you'd like to read my book, A New Spirituality Beyond Religion. And there are many other books similar. I want to thank you for your attention today. And this is Patty Paul saying goodbye until the next time.